This will we'll do a roll call vote just to make sure we have everybody that we think we do. We know that Barnesville is not here. Maureen from Bourne is here. Brewster?
Here. Steve here.
Okay. Cape Cod Tech, Mary Rose said she couldn't make it. DY?
Bill Morris and DY.
Welcome, Phil. Good to see you. And Dr. Smith is here as our superintendent rep. That's great. Eastham?
Devin O'Rourke here.
Thank you, Devin. Falmouth?
Carrie Medeiros here.
Thank you, Kelly. We have Monomoy. We have a new member, a different member representing Monomoy. Brad Schiff is here. So we welcome.
Afternoon, everybody. Nice to meet all of you and nice to be part of this.
Thank you. All right, I see Martha's Vineyard just came on.
Hi, Roxanne Ackerman, and welcome new board members. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mashpee? I don't think Mashpee is here. Nope. Nantucket said she couldn't come. Nauset?
Catherine is still here.
Welcome, Catherine. Good to see you. Orleans?
Kathy McNamara here, Orleans.
Hi, Kathy. Provincetown?
I'm here and I'm so glad to see Phil.
Yes, isn't it great? Sandwich could not come. Is Truro here? Nope. Okay. Upper Cape Regional?
Upper Cape Tech. Bob Fitchemeyer.
Thanks, Bob. Wareham is coming on a little later, and Wellfleet said she couldn't come. So it looks like we have 11 members right now, so we can get started. All right. Our first order of business is our calling to an order for the OPEB trust. So that roll call will satisfy our OPEB trust, I think. Patrick, is that correct?
If you're comfortable with that, yes.
Okay, do you want to go on and explain the details of what we're going to be voting on tonight?
Yeah, so I'm going to give a moment or two of background information, and if folks who have been around since we started the OPEB trust want to add any more history, they're welcome to. I'm looking at Bob or Amy. But the OPEB trust, this entire board is by default is the board of the organization's OPEB trust. OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits. Organizations, about a decade or so ago, organizations were encouraged to create an OPEB account to fund their retirees' healthcare liability, healthcare insurance costs. So it's a liability that across the state was not being booked or looked at, and in order to encourage public entities to take this seriously, this idea of creating an OPEB trust was created and encouraged. It's not a requirement, but was a very, very thoughtful and responsible thing for the Cape Cod Collaborative to take this on about a decade ago. Over the past decade, the collaborative has done a couple of things with this OPEB trust. One, they've created a separate lockbox account that these funds, any funds that are allocated, can go in. They can only be taken out. They can only be touched to cover OPEB costs, meaning the employer side costs for retirees' health insurance. In theory, we could take it out to cover the cost of an actuary who does this work, but this collaborative has been very diligent in allocating money to this account over the past 10 plus years. The practice over the years has been something that has worked out very nicely. The collaborative has allocated $180,000 annually to this account. It's a little complex in that it is allocated retroactively. So the vote today is a vote to allocate funds from this that have been accrued since fiscal year 23. So it just, and it sounds complicated, but if you think about it, it's a very conservative approach to allocating funds to make sure that there's no other pressing needs that the collaborative has to fund prior to funding the OPEB trust. But over the years, this fund has grown considerably. It has not ever been touched to cover the cost of retiree health insurance. The parallel path that the collaborative has gone down is they've funded the OPEB trust and in parallel have paid the employer share of retirees' health insurance out of the general operating fund in real time. So there's been two paths to try to address this liability or potential liability that the collaborative would have. It's been from an accounting actuarial perspective, it's been a fantastic success. To the point where we have as of today $2,940,000 in that account. The actuary's report that was given to you in November presents that the collaborative is funded at a rate of 124% of what is required. To put that in perspective, there are many organizations that don't have any money in an OPEB trust. I've seen some comparisons of different cities, towns, schools, and having any money in an OPEB trust puts you in good shape. Having 50% puts you in much better shape. 50 to 75%, you're probably in the top tier of OPEB funded trusts. Over 100%, there are some folks that are super funded, but not many. So we're in rare air. These are good problems to have. Bill Friel is on this. We've had a lot of conversations about this. So the vote today, and there are other topics we can talk about over the next year as part of our strategic plan in terms of funding our long-term liabilities. And we will create an opportunity for those conversations. But the vote today is really, I would suggest that it's limited to, do we want to continue going the way we've gone and continue funding it at the level of $180,000? Or do we want to take the recommendation from the KMS actuary and what they calculated is that the trust should be funded at approximately $150,000. And they say, but you funded $50,000 of that $150,000 through the work that you've done out of your operating budget. So their calculation would suggest that we have one person coming in, their calculation would suggest that the OPEB trust should be funded at $100,000. I'm happy to make arguments on both sides of this. This is actuaries love these kind of arguments. Investment types who are interested in this love these types of arguments. Bill, I'm going to stop talking for a moment just to make sure, allow you to say anything that you want.
Yeah, I'd only add, Patrick, to that thorough description of where we're at, and how we got here, is that we always have a number of regular discussions on a host of financial topics, and it's usually not the case where we have universal agreement on any recommendation to make to the board. So this recommendation really is to right-size the OPEB contribution on an annual basis. We've been approaching this from a very conservative position. We're now simply suggesting that it become a conservative approach to this funding. And that's after careful review of all of the results and assumptions known to us up to this particular point in time. And I think the important thing is the board can continue, as financial conditions improve or not improve, they can continue to monitor this and annually review the policy and modify it as needed. I think it's important to mention that. You've already mentioned that an outside independent auditor, actuarial, I should say, and everyone internally supports the adjustment. And it gives me a high level of confidence that this is the right move at this particular time. So that's about what I would add to it.
Then we have a couple of folks at the table who spent a lot of time thinking about this and working on this. I'm looking at Amy and Bob. Do either of you have strong feelings or opinions or thoughts that you want to share about this topic?
Is the idea to change investment, the way it's invested? Are we still going to have it high risk?
There is a limit. It would not be described as high risk investment. We did ask the question in talking with Rockland Trust whether or not they would recommend any changes in the investment, and they said no at this time. They like the balanced approach to this. It has gone up, and it's not sort of a frothy way that it's accumulated money. And there have been years that it hasn't performed well too. But it protects the principal, right? And it has accumulated. If you think about this, it's accumulated nicely over the last decade in terms of funds. It's I see Ingina.
Yeah.
Are you saying that there's an $80,000 difference between what is recommended and what we have? Is that true?
There's an $80,000 difference in between what the practice has been.
Okay.
Versus what the actuaries report, and they have just a way of doing a calculation. And the actuarial report suggests that a little bit less money could be put into this OPEB trust, given everything else stays the same. That's the way the actuaries talk.
Right. So my concern is not that we change what we've been doing, but this year we might do something different because we're buying 2 buses this year, right?
So
aren't we buying 2 buses this year?
We will buy more than the 2 buses this year. And there are other long-term liabilities that we have concerns about. And I do agree with you that the overall discussion should take into account other long-term liabilities. However, for this discussion, and that can go on forever, for this discussion, my recommendation is we kind of limit our decision-making to should we follow the KMS actuaries report and allocate $100,000, or should we fall back on the $180,000 best practice? And either decision is a fine decision, but we've done really well with this, and I think the actuarial's calculation is a legitimate calculation to review.
Will
Patrick,
either decision result in having $80,000 extra to spend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is real money. This is
Okay.
that gets to your question. Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
is real money.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
How does Rockland Trust treat us?
Rockland Trust has been doing well by us. They're very responsive to our requests for meetings and information. What in the future I'd like to do is bring Rockland Trust into discussions about future policies regarding or any updates to our policies on OPEB. They were the ones who were able to share some information about, how different entities fund OPEB and how we would compare to different entities. That was kind of interesting to me.
Okay, so if we stay the way we are, continue to invest the way we do, it hasn't hurt us. Why change something that works?
That's a valid question. The argument that I would put out there is that we do have other long-term liabilities, and that this is extremely well funded. So we don't get any true benefit from being extremely well funded, meaning above 100%. We don't get lower rates on plus interest rates or anything like
Okay,
that.
that sounds like you're telling me anything above 100% we should spend elsewhere.
I'm to that. I'm to that.
We can't do that.
I understand we
Right
can't do
now?
it.
Right.
We're talking to each other.
We're talking, no, I understand that too. And I think that this is a one-off. I don't say we're gonna switch to 100,000. I wouldn't say that
No.
every year.
Correct. I would
Right
agree.
now, we're well funded. We're not using that money either. Maybe that's the point we have to look at. Maybe we should be using that to pay employee retiree benefits instead of coming out of the general fund. So that's another question for the future. If the board or the trustees would want to do that, I think that might be an option. And then, yeah, you're gonna go back to 180 because you're gonna start taking 50 or whatever out every year. So,
Patrick, could I just add that I know it's in the materials, but the look back that was done in terms of actual expenditures for OPEB, direct OPEB related costs are half or more half than what have been spending all those years when you compare it to the $100,000 that we're recommending now.
Right.
So
Right.
we're more than doubling annually with this recommendation, the amount we're setting aside for this expenditure, if you will.
Right.
So it's belts and it continues to be belts and suspenders.
Right. We are very well off, and it's just, this is real money. So any allocation into this account is locked, right? So and as both Bill and Amy said, we're not setting long-term policy. We're just making an adjustment that we believe is fit for this year.
Can I ask what the allocation, the last allocation for employee benefits was that came out of the operating budget?
Yeah, so I had put that in the memo of all the years. So the fiscal year 24, the actual employer spending on retiree healthcare was $46,928. And it kind of goes up and down. Fiscal year 23 was about a little over 34,000. fiscal year 22 was 43,000. Fiscal year 21 was 39,000. Fiscal year 20 was 47,000. So it's a little spiky, but it hasn't gone above $50,000 in terms of the information that I could drag out from old reports. So that's why we're saying this $50,000 number, it has been about the actual expenses out of our operating budget. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
What are you recommending, Pat?
I'm recommending the $100,000 allocation. With Bill, are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely, and those were consistent with my comments too. I back that 100%.
Steve has a question.
Steve?
Yeah, quick question, just because actuaries tend to do this. We fund at $100,000. Was there any work done to say, okay, if you do 100,000 over X number of years, at some point you'll be at the 100% level of where it should be versus the 124 where we are now? Is it going to kind of slowly bring that back down?
Yeah, so the the actuaries do some work with us every year. They do sort of a full report and they really look at the details of our employees and where they are towards retirement. And that gets done actually this coming year. The report that they did just now is sort of a shorter report. So the next report would involve or include the $100,000 allocation. So the next report we get, we might have some idea of how long it might take to smooth that line down. But the other answer is there's other variables that come into play. The performance of the stock market, all those types of things come into play in an even bigger way, because we're talking about a dozen retirees. It's a very small number, and their decisions, one person making a decision one way or another reflects more, in a greater way than most of this stuff.
Any other discussion?
I'm comfortable with calling Pat's lead.
All right, can I, someone make a motion, please?
Bill Morris, I move the recommended number from Pat.
It's $100,000.
Exactly.
Second?
Second.
Can someone say who they made that second, just for the minutes person?
Bob, Maya.
Okay, thanks, Bob. All right, it's been moved and seconded to allocate $100,000 for the FY23 OPEB. So we'll do a roll call vote. Maureen says yes. Steve?
Steve says yes.
Phil?
Phil says yes.
Evan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Roxanne?
Roxanne, yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Catherine?
Catherine, yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And Gina? Unmute, Angina.
I want to say no, but I'll say yes.
Okay. Tyler?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, but I would ask her why she wants to say no.
Because I think we can use the money at least in 1 year to pay for the buses or part of the buses.
You're doing that.
Yeah.
You reduce the.
You've done that to reduce the amount. So you
Okay.
achieved your
All right.
goal.
Yes, yes.
Now it's an emphatic yes.
All right. So the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil and Bill. Patrick and Bill, for your
Thank you, Bill.
research and your explanation for us.
Thank
That
you.
was good. All right, so now we have to adjourn as our duties for OPEB and open up for our regular meeting. So I'm going to take a motion to adjourn, please.
I move that we adjourn.
Get your mind.
Thank you. All right. So Maureen from Bourne says yes. Steve?
Yes.
Bill?
Bill says yes.
Devin?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Roxanne?
Roxanne, yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Catherine?
Catherine, yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Angina?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to go into our regular meeting now. All right. So we're moving to the minutes. I had a couple of things I noticed, that minor things that need to be just updated. The attendance, I was remote, so I should have an R after my name. Bob Victormeyer was present, and in the minutes it says he was in the roll call vote, but then he's not listed as being in attendance further down. I don't know if you noticed that, Bob, but so he needs to be added that he was present. And then down in therapies, Julia's name is just listed at Julie's, because when I was reading it, I said, "Who is Julie?" And then I figured it was it had to be Julia, because they were discussing, I think the other people that work for the collaborative. So those are the three that I know.
AI, right? Was this the first time you?
Yes.
Yes.
But this is me.
No. But we're not using it tonight because I didn't hit the button, so it'll be interesting to compare.
Okay. All right. Anything else about minutes? All right. So I'll take a motion to move the minutes of January 8th.
Move to accept as amended.
Thank you, Steve. Second.
Morris, second.
Thank you. All right. It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as amended. Maureen says yes. Steve?
Steve, yes.
Bill?
Bill says yes.
Devin?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Roxanne?
Roxanne, yes.
Brad?
Was not here, so abstain.
Thank you. Catherine?
Catherine, yes.
Kathy?
Abstain.
Angina?
Abstain.
Tyler?
Yes.
Bob?
Abstain.
All right. All right. And we move down to the Hope's report. Take it away, Hope.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see some of your faces. Our screen is like, we can't see all the faces at once for whatever reason, but I'm very excited to have our first board meeting. So yeah, I was just going to give a little update on my transition in. I started January 21st, and it was one of the coldest days of the year, but I got a very warm welcome from everyone. So my dad will be very proud. I threw a pun in there. But it's been, I feel like it hasn't been a month yet, but I don't feel like I ever worked anywhere else. And that's a good thing. Like no, it's a good thing. It is. It's been a really wonderful experience for me so far. Every time I go home, and I go home kind of late because I'm trying to figure it all out, you know, my husband will say, "Do you think you made the right decision?" And every single day I'm like, I know I made the right decision. It is absolutely the right place for me and the right time for me to be here. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And I will say that as I start to then get into sort of what has gone on in the last, I don't know, 17 days or so. So I've met one-on-one with pretty much all the admin staff, except one who I'm meeting with next week. Although I had met with that person before I started. So, and met with Mr. Friel, which was great. Different consultants that we have on staff, sort of learning what some of those people do. And so Mark Hauser, for example, Mag Jaffoon, we had our legislative breakfast, which was my first Friday. So that was the 24th of January. Thank you to Dr. Smith for hosting us at the DY Intermediate and Middle School. We were also able to get a tour of that building while we were there, which was glorious. It was so beautiful. So I was really grateful for that. But the legislative breakfast, if anyone was there from here who wants to sort of give input on how you think it went, I would love to. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I hope I would just say it was my first time that I've been there. I was very, very impressed, and particularly the involvement of the political delegation in terms of really listening and also speaking and taking positions. So I was very happy to have been part of that and to actually be able to see it. But very pleased that virtually all of the delegation was there.
I agree. We had great attendance. Phil, I know you were there as well. I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Well, as a longtime member of the board and longtime participant in legislative breakfasts, I thought this was one of the best ones in my memory and my experience. It's nice to show off a new building, but it's also nice to have input from well-versed staff and administrators. So I felt like a father watching a new family come together. It's not often we have a chance to do it all in one spot. We rotate around to various buildings. First time I was on the collaborative board, the use of individual districts' spare rooms for conducting collaborative education. This has now come full circle to a quality organization with quality supporters, and it was obvious. So thanks for all those who were there.
Nice.
Yeah, the day, the morning was really, really well put together by Judy from our office and Gwen and Mark, Dr. Smith's staff. Oh my gosh, not Shelley. Sarah, who was fabulous. They all did a huge amount of work prior to the event to get it all organized, and the food services from DY was phenomenal. But the way the event was we had breakfast and then we went into the beautiful auditorium that as a theater person, I was extremely jealous of. And we got into groups around facilities was one group, special education was one group, and then interdependency was one group. And those groups were facilitated by superintendents, 3 superintendents. And the delegation sort of sat in various configurations in those groups. And we were able to really share. I was in the special ed group. I know Patrick was in the facilities group, and Steve Kelleher, for our ASLP director, was in the interdependency group. And we were able to talk about, just with the legislation, things that they don't always necessarily know about. For example, the facilities component, they were like, well, go to MSBA and then you should be able to get into the getting support for facilities for collaboratives through MSBA. But in actuality, that's a long line that we don't have time to get into or really the ability to navigate effectively. So we were able to connect MOEC with the delegation and sort of get our priorities aligned together through those conversations. So that's just one example of sort of the next steps that happened. I don't know, Pat, if you want to add anything.
No, that's exactly right. And hearing district superintendents help to make the case for collaborative facility funding was very impressive to me. And I give from Barnstable, Dr. Sarah Ahern credit for that. So that was
nice.
That doesn't happen usually.
Yeah. So again, all in all, I think it was a great event. Joan, Dr. Woodward was there as well. We were in the special ed group. I know that Dr. Smith and I, Mark and I, we talked about next year sort of maybe some tweaks and some changes to the model and the program. So at the next superintendent Cape and Islands meeting, which is after break, I know that's on the agenda to talk about with the superintendents if there's, some adjustments to the process that maybe we want to put in place. But yeah, I've been to a few of them, and yeah, I'm a little biased because this was my first one I was like part of the collaborative for, but I thought it was great. And I didn't feel like I felt like I walked out of that building with some next steps. And that's not always sort of, I don't mean with the legislative breakfast, but in general, you don't always walk out of meetings that way. So I was grateful for that. Go ahead. Somebody? No, okay. So as an administrative team, we have a rather large administrative team when you put transportation, operations, facilities, programs, special projects all together. So we have been talking and have adjusted our administrative meeting sort of structures in order to ensure that our meetings are sort of efficient and really sort of task driven, and that the people at the table are the ones who need to be at the table at any given moment. So we have put together a schedule, a calendar, where the big team is going to meet once a month before these board meetings, actually. Wednesdays on board meeting days from 3:45 to 4:45. And then we're having, on the other off weeks, the 3 other weeks in the month, we're having smaller team meetings with a programs and special projects meeting, and then a transportation operations facilities meeting. That also allows us to have those times be more conducive to the roles. So in other words, we were having admin meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Well, for Anders, who right now is on Nantucket, hi Anders, he and Lisa are often driving during that time because we're short drivers and they need to be. So it wasn't necessarily always an appropriate time for everybody. Now, for the big group on the Wednesdays, we decided board meeting days because most of us are here for the board meetings anyway. So we're hoping it's going to facilitate sort of strong conversations when they need to happen in a big group, but also smaller working groups where we can really get stuff done. We also spent a lot of time talking about norms for our administrative team, and we have finalized them as of today. And it's really, how do we operate? How do we treat each other? How do we conduct business? Because right now everybody feels good and we're all kumbaya, but as we're doing hard work, sort of natural conflicts can occur. And so we need to really refer back to those norms and make sure they're how we handle things when maybe we're feeling a little escalated ourselves. We feel strongly and passionately about the work we do. So I think that so far, I'm saying it's gone well, but I'm looking at the team to see. They have to say yes. No, they don't really. More to come, I guess. We've put the structures in place. The systems are ready to go, and now we're putting them in action. So I think that's been good. Another component of that has been our snow protocols. We put in a draft of snow protocols. I didn't expect to have to use them as early as we did, but the team jumped into practice so beautifully and picked up any slack that I dropped. And I'm grateful for that. But I think we've used them twice now. The second time it went really, really well. I'm on a text chain with the superintendents that's sort of going off tonight, which is interesting. I don't anticipate we'll be needing it, but I guess it's supposed to be just rain. But we're refining those processes as we go as well. I also met with Sarah Spatafor, who is the legal counsel for the collaborative for the board. I think I mentioned she was our legal counsel in Mashpee as well. So we sort of already have a great working relationship. And she was able to catch me up on several of the sort of things that she had been working on behalf of the collaborative with Paul and with all of you. I think that we're in really good positioning from a legal perspective right now. She also helped with the articles of agreement that we're going to talk about later on in the agenda. I had an orientation with Joanne Haley Sullivan, who is the executive director of MOEC. She came over and sort of oriented me to the MOEC organization, which is the MASC for collaboratives, basically, or the MASS for collaboratives. I also have been part of the MOEC board meetings and facilities conversations that are happening at the state level. The executive directors around the state, there are 24 collaboratives, and they're such smart, committed people who I'm already reaching out to and relying on when I have questions. So I'm really grateful for that partnership. And then just because I wasn't busy and neither was Dr. Woodward, we decided that the access testing, which is the testing for our English learners, needed to happen. We didn't decide that, the state decided that, but we got trained, both of us did a variety of trainings and are implementing, we are giving the access test currently to students at STAR and Waypoint. So it's been a busy 17 or 18 days, but for me, it's been really, really wonderful. So that's my transition. I don't know, Maureen, if it's okay if I go to the program updates?
Does anyone have any questions for Hope? All right, go right into the program updates then.
Volume okay, because as I said earlier, I do have a loud voice. So if I'm talking too loudly, please let me know and I'll bring it down. But if it's not loud enough, then let me know that as well. Okay, so I'm going to have the program folks just give you a little update in a second, but very sort of high level of what's gone on. But from my perspective, I met with all of the teachers at STAR, all of the therapists at STAR. I'm meeting with all the paras at STAR on Friday. It's been an hour each for those groups. Paras, it'll be a half hour. And Waypoint, although I've been there the last few days, last Tuesday I went to their staff meeting and spent the time with them. I've given each group a series of questions, pretty much just asking like, what do you love about STAR or Waypoint? What do you love about the collaborative? What needs some attention at your program and at the collaborative? And then what are things that you think I should know? But it's been mostly just a back and forth conversation and really just trying to get to know the folks and what is important to them. And from my perspective, they've been great because now I'm putting names with faces and really getting to know who people are and what they do. So for me, I don't like not knowing every single person and their name and their family and their dog's name. And like, I just, that's important to me. I haven't gotten to the dogs yet, but we're close. I've also, though, been at Waypoint the last week or so. Dr. Woodward and I are sort of tag teaming over there as well on a more sort of regular basis. I also have worked with the transportation, their monthly PD. They have different monthly PD that runs, and so I've been attending those. Also, we had a dispatch meeting that Anders and Lisa led, where we sort of calibrated some practices with the different dispatchers, which I think was super fun, actually. I laughed a lot at it. And we have really amazingly wonderful team members in that department. So ASLP, Steve Kelleher came over and we met Gwynn, Patrick, Steve, and I, and we've set up every other week meetings that we'll be holding as we move forward with ASLP. I'm also meeting with Steve and the Admiral McDonald next Thursday over at the college, which I'm pretty excited about. But I think we have, again, I'm sharing the systems that we're putting in place more than anything else. We're putting in structures so that we can have a clear understanding of how the work's getting done and how we're making sure it's getting done and checking in with each other. So that's sort of my piece on the programs. And now I'm going to toss it to Julia, Miss Bryant over here, to just give any input on STAR.
Yeah, I think the meetings with you have been well received, so thank you for taking the time to do that. We've started 3 new students since our last board meeting. I don't know how excited they are that they've started with us. The 3 in particular are not thrilled, but we enjoy them. On the half day, we met as a whole group and really took a deep dive on our timeout protocols. You know, as you know, Department of Ed was here in October to kind of talk to us about that after the Boston Globe article, but then in addition, new regs are coming down the pike. So we're trying to start to really look at what we're currently doing and making adjustments to that. So it's been anxiety provoking for all of us, but it's really been a great exercise for us to look at, you know, how are we helping kids and how are we managing behaviors in the building. So we took that half day to really talk about a lot of that. I continue to receive referrals, but unfortunately, I don't continue to get staff applications. So it continues to be a struggle on which classrooms I can bring students into without additional staffing. So I'm going to meet with some of the teachers tomorrow morning because I'm just having a brain freeze on, is there another way we can do this with 4 particular classrooms? So I'm going to meet with the teachers and the social worker around that. Thanks to my staff, and I have a group of people who really like to do culture building activities in our building, our school culture. So we've been doing a lot of like wear the color that means love to you because we're in February. So things like that. And the kids have been joining in. Last Friday was wear red, and it was great to see how many kids were wearing red. And check out our social media because we have a lot of pictures up there around those things. And then Black History Month, we're doing a door war. And I have some pretty competitive staff. So those will be posted online once they're done with them. I need to maybe check with some administrators to come and be the judges. But it's pretty competitive in the building once we decide we're going to compete. So those are the things happening at STAR right now.
And just to add on to the conversation about the new regulations around timeouts and all of that, we are working with MOEC on advocacy around that topic through their legislative agenda. And so I just wanted to reiterate that that's something that Cape Cod Collaborative is taking an active role in ensuring that we have a voice at the table to keep all kids safe and able to access schools. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Thank you.
So thank you. Waypoint, I'll just give a little info, and then if Dr. Woodward wants to add, we have just great kids at Waypoint, and you can follow social media because there were some snowmen that got put up because I was very excited about what I saw when I was there this week. I wanted to highlight that one of the big focuses for the staff for the remainder of this year for us is writing IEP goals and working on not improving, but just sort of refining the work we do around equitable access to the curriculum frameworks and making sure that our instructional strategies and our instructional content is meeting the curriculum standards based on the grade level of the student. And so with that being said, there's a full professional day at the end of March 28th, that Dr. Woodward and I will be facilitating for the Waypoint staff on writing IEPs, but also on how to match instructional strategies with content areas with IEP profiles, so that really the goal is to increase not only the rigor and relevance of our instruction at both programs actually, but also the engagement with of the students. I always just talk about like, if all of our jobs are to come here and work, and we all love I love my job, obviously I said it, but we're paid every 2 weeks to come here. The students are not. And so it feels to me like if I had to come somewhere where I was not engaged and sort of not feeling like there was a huge purpose to why I was there and I wasn't getting a paycheck, I would have a hard time. That's not what's happening in our programs. Our programs are really awesome. And I think there's more we can do on the engagement piece. So we're really excited, and the Waypoint staff are really excited about that. Also, in the partnership with Dr. Hauser, he is creating sort of data collection tools for each teacher on that aligns with the current goals on the IEPs. So he's sort of doing the heavy lifting of creating the structures for teachers, and then teachers and staff really just have to plug in the information as they're gathering it. So we're excited about that partnership as well, and really about where our instruction is going to go moving forward. So Dr. Woodward, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Just supplement very quickly to what you were saying, kind of aligning to what Ms. Bryan talked about on the half day training over at Waypoint. They really focused their time on the de-escalation techniques and the physical restraint. So it's called Safety Care. The company is QBS. So with our new BCBA, Miss V and Dr. Mosley really unpacked it. They kind of used some case scenarios. They walked through it, kind of looked in, identified, the areas of where there's strengths, there's areas where there's some needed improvement, how it aligns to the behavior support plans that many of the students have. So they really kind of unpacked a lot of that so that as they move forward, they can also identify if there's other areas of training for safety care. Yesterday, in the staff meeting, some groups met, some of the staff met with Jim, who's one of our QBS trainers, and did some more refinement on that. And as Dr. Hanscom just said, the rest of the staff kind of worked in the IEP development, some of the materials that Dr. Hauser had provided, Mark Hauser had provided, to really start being able to independently navigate through that. And as it relates to data collection, so that again, kind of really making sure we're triangulating all of our data to ensure that the goals and objectives that are being written align to student disability and need, that we have the appropriate data collection so that we use our data collection as our progress monitoring. We have had, I believe there's been 2 new students that have started since our last meeting. We had another tour today, and there's some more referrals coming in. And, similarly to all the busy things, our students over at MCAS, we had a few students at high school level take the high school science retake for the MCAS. So that was both biology and physics. And then we have some students taking the access testing. So I think that kind of covers what has been happening at Waypoint. Thank you.
Next on, sorry. I have it. I have my notes. I'm going to go with Anders and then with Chris Bogdan. So Anders?
Okay, as far as transportation is concerned, we're kind of holding steady on our staffing right now. We had people leave and people come at the same time last month, as I think you all heard. And that was great to be able to keep our staffing right where it was. We are still down 1 Bourne driver, and we're down 1 Nantucket driver at least. We've talked about it on a monthly basis, but we could probably use 2 or 3 more Nantucket drivers at this point, and we're working on that. We're hanging in there at this point. Our pipeline is pretty good. We're getting a lot of activity. A lot of people are calling us. We're giving them the information to get to start studying and get into taking the test, the permit test. Unfortunately, we're not getting a lot of people who are actually getting their permit. Excuse me, the trainers are staying on top of the list of people. They're calling them every week and asking them how they're doing. And we're just, again, not getting a lot of people who are getting their permits or passing their test and getting ready to go. The good news is we had someone pass their permit test on Friday, who's a Nantucket driver, and he's going to start training probably next week. One of our trainers is going to be over here. The 2 of us are kind of tag teaming for this month to do the coverage over here. So we'll get started with that gentleman. Unfortunately, one of our former drivers here who said he wanted to come back has changed his mind. I guess his family situation has changed, and so he's not going to be coming on board. And the person that we had in training who was struggling just said, I can't do it. I'm not retaining the information, so I'm just going to walk away. And after a significant amount of time with him, he was right at that point. If he didn't have it, he wasn't going to get it. So very up and down, but again, we're hanging in there at this point. Staff is doing a lot of coverage. Our biggest issue right now is the flu. People are out for 4 or 5 days with the flu, and although we're fairly well staffed, we literally have most days where everyone is on the road. All of our dispatchers, our managers, supervisors, everyone is driving. Somehow the dispatchers are keeping it all going. They're putting routes together. They're moving kids around, moving drivers, moving monitors. It's amazing the work that they do in the office to get everybody to and from school every day. And every week we're kind of going through this. I think we're all waiting, really looking forward to the break next week. Kind of regroup a little bit. Although Nantucket is on next week, so Heather and I will be over here. next week. So, but then, they'll be off the following week. And then hopefully our person who is away for the month will come back and things will settle down there as well. I also wanted to touch base on the snow removal piece as well. The second part of that is how to get the buses clean. And on Sunday, we had a storm. Saturday night into Sunday, we had a storm. And again, very impressive performance by the entire office staff. Every single person was out at a lot. I think we have 6 different lots, probably 140 buses that needed to be cleaned off. And by Sunday afternoon, it was done, all of it. So people went out, they got the work done, they got it all taken care of. They coordinated across all the districts. We got in touch with the people in the districts or the people in the town. So when we cleared off, they came in with their plows and they cleaned everything out. It was incredible how well it worked. It was nice that it was a 5-inch storm. That's a lot easier than the foot or so that, we've had a few of those in the past. That is, you can't get it done. But hopefully we continue to have these small little storms.
Or none, or no storm.
Sorry?
I said, or none, no storm.
Yeah, none would definitely be better. Especially, Super Bowl Sunday, everybody's like, you want me to do what? But as long as I'm done before the game, I'm good. So, yeah.
So I want to thank Anders and Heather, who have been, Heather goes over to Nantucket Sundays, and she's there till Wednesday, takes the boat back on at 4:30. And Anders has been going on Wednesdays until Fridays. And it's extremely appreciated and way above and beyond what, the call of duty. So thank you. Sunday, I will say, I was talking with Lisa and I told my husband, I'm like, get your boots on, man. We're going to Mashpee High School. But she just did it at maybe 40 minutes later and said they were all set. But yeah, you all did an amazing job. So thank you very, very, very much.
Yeah, it all worked out well, right from the getting it all together right through to the end. So it was well done by everyone.
All right, Dr. Bogdan.
Good evening. Last month, I explained a little bit about securing a commitment from local educators and districts so that we could indeed contract for a PD that would train educators here on the Cape in how to differentiate exactly what the causes were for students with challenging educational needs. And the differentiation that this PD is intended to address is that which occurs when a student is learning a new language or having to overcome learning disabilities. And I was going through the logistics of this in terms of, this is an expensive PD. It was around $8,000. I had to secure a commitment from local staff to reach that threshold. I was about at 80% when I was speaking to you last month. By the end of that week, we had reached that 80%. We had exceeded the 100% threshold. And now we are not only committed to do the training, but we have 12 other commitments from other districts from Massachusetts and beyond. So the cost actually of that $80,000 has been reduced by almost 20%, which is good. And we have another month to indeed attract more registrations from outside the Cape. So I'm encouraged by that. We will get the training for our local staff. We will be able to provide training for staff outside of the region, and we will be able to do it at a much more cost-effective price.
Great. That's the collaborative. Woo!
I just had a question.
Yeah, please.
I just had a question. Is New Bedford one of the districts that is going to be involved in that PD?
I haven't heard from New Bedford yet. We've put the word out to all the special education directors from the state. But if you indeed have a person that we should contact, or you believe we should contact, or may have missed this, I'll be happy to get in touch with them.
Oh, I do, because, have you contacted like the ESL directors?
We haven't put it out to the ESL directors, but we have put it out to special education directors. For some reason, this PD is much more attractive to special education directors than ESL directors. I'm not sure why, but I would happily put it out to anyone that you have, the contact information for, because again, the more the merrier. And we have 42 commitments from our region. We have a little more than a dozen from outside the region at this point, and we have a ceiling of 200 total. So we can take on a lot more.
I'll get you that information. Thank you.
You're wonderful. Thank you.
Any other
questions?
Nope. All right. I know that Mr. Hilton had talked, he had put in a statement of interest to DESE for the RTAP grant, which is the Registered Teacher Apprentice Program grant. And I just want to give you an update. And Chris, I haven't even talked to you about this. We had a call with DESE. I was at Waypoint. It may have been yesterday. It may have been, I don't know what day I'm at. I think it was Monday, maybe. Robin Millen from Monomoy was working with Paul on this. The Registered Teacher Apprentice Program grant is where we would pay folks who are serving in para roles or any other roles while they are becoming a teacher. It is going to be a phenomenal program. Unfortunately, the RFP is one of the most extensive RFPs I've seen, and it's due February 28th. And we need a ton of input from the districts, from the school committees of the districts. And we made the decision that we're not in a position where we can go for this grant for this year, for FY25. We are meeting in March to start to plan to write the grant for FY26. So it's not dead in the water, but we're not going to be able to make the deadline of February 28th. And we didn't have the buy-in from the districts quite yet. So I wanted to just give you that update, see if anyone had any questions on that. Okay. Another, just a FYI update, the collaborative is part of a planning group where we are hosting Cape Cod Regional Education Job Fair. I don't remember if Mr. Hilton gave you all this information, but I'm working with Dr. Ahern from Barnstable, Henry St. Julian from Falmouth, and Jessica starts with an R. She's the Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion for Sturgis. And when I close this out, I'll tell you her last name. Jessica Rogers. We are hosting a job fair for prospective educators Saturday, April 5th. From 10 to 2 at the Sturgis Community Center in Hyannis. It's free, there'll be lunch provided. There will be a panel at 11 that we are having district folks, people from DESE, Cape Cod Community College, Bridgewater State, hopefully Mass Maritime, and other sort of key players on a panel, but also tables for folks to be able to get information about job opportunities in the education field on the Cape. So I'm pretty excited about this. It's the first one. We're calling it the first annual. I think that we are all sort of looking for the same thing, which are highly qualified teachers who can provide, great instruction for our kids. And we decided working together was a better plan than competing for those people. So I'm really excited about that. Any questions on that? All right, the next item on my update is the staffing update, which does require a vote. So I linked in the current additions, subtractions, and changes of status for personnel since the last board meeting.
Hope, can I ask, well, first of all, the terminations term it seems harsh to me. It seems like that we're firing people as opposed to reductions is what we used to call it. So whether we decided or they decided that it wasn't a good fit, I would just like to have that turn to reductions. Thank you. And the cafeteria manager, now I remember at Waypoint, is he the person that used to do the cooking with kids?
He is, yes.
Okay, so did he leave on his, do we have someone that replaced him?
So Miss Jerry has come back, and she's lovely, by the way. She's fantastic. And Miss Amy, I'm sorry. Miss Amy is back, and she is working with Miss Jerry actually in the kitchen with the kids. So yes, right now temporarily, Amy has been added, and we're continuing to plan for next steps with that program. But the culinary program is running beautifully. It smelled so good over there this morning. And so that has not missed a step.
All right. I just remember the kids look forward to that. And so I'm glad that's still happening.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments about the change in status? All right. I will entertain a motion to accept additions, reductions, and change of status.
So move.
That was you, Phil, right?
That's right.
Second.
And Terry seconded. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the changes. So we'll go to the vote. Maureen says yes. Steve?
Yes. Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Devin?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Roxanne? Roxanne's muted. I will circle back. Brad?
Yes.
Catherine?
Catherine, yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And Dina?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
And Bob?
Yes.
Roxanne, are you back on yet? All right, I declare the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
All right. Patrick is next up.
Sure. There's a couple things I just want to review with you. I have put in a business manager's memo to give you some details and background on some of the topics that we've been looking at. The first thing that I'd like to cover tonight is just to make sure that you're aware of the range of things that we're looking at as we go into fiscal year 26. So that at the bottom of the memo, there's a list of 10 or 11 items that we're looking at as part of our assumptions going into fiscal year 26. And the reason I'm saying this is these all go into impacting our tuition rates. They go into impacting what we can do with our salaries increases, our health insurance increases, what we're going to do in terms of potentially buying new vehicles across the way, and other capital projects, the boiler project that I've been mentioning. And I don't want to forget a project that's near and dear to Andrew's heart, bus radio upgrades. He has a smile. So these are all things that we're looking at going into fiscal year 26. Hopefully we can do most of them and create a budget that we can all live with and our member districts can live with. But there may have to be trade-offs. There's always those kind of discussions. I do want to be clear with you that Dr. Woodward and I continue to go to each other's job-alike meetings, the meetings that we have on a semi-regular basis with the special ed directors and with the business managers. And we have these discussions so that they understand what it means when we say we need to add a BCBA to each program. And we've accomplished that, and we'll continue with that at Waypoint. We haven't quite accomplished that at STAR, but we'd like to prioritize that in the budget for next year, if possible. We also share the salary comp tables that we've shared with you all in October to show you where our salary tables are for our teachers and our paraprofessionals are versus the districts, and that we have to make progress to stay competitive on those. And this is a bit of a broken record because I've been talking about this for the last 3 years, but we have been making incremental progress. It's just slow to catch up. And I think if we continue down this path, we will be pretty close to that median range of salary tables across some of the areas by next year. So the list of assumptions is something feel free to take a look at. If there's any questions about that, please feel free to give me a call. But these are the assumptions that we make before we get into the real details of a fiscal 26 budget. So the conversations with special ed directors and business managers are literally, we tell them these things so that to prevent sticker shock. I don't want to scare folks when we talk about tuition increases. But on the other side of that, I've also shared with you in my business memo one way of comparing our tuition rates against other collaboratives across, at least across the eastern half of Massachusetts. And it was a model that was shared with me by a colleague at the Bi-County Collaborative. And in that comparison model, we're at the very low end of tuition rates. I'm not convinced that's the only model to use in comparing tuition rates. There's some other things that I'm looking at with the help of MOEC. But I want to look at a whole range of ways to compare tuition rates against other collaboratives so that we can stay competitive in our staff salaries, so that we can stay competitive in our staffing models, and do what we need to do to keep kids on Cape Cod closer to their communities if at all possible. So there's a lot of work to begin to get into the fiscal year 26 budget cycle. And it really started back in September, October, when we started going to each other's job alike meetings to tell them what they're doing. And when we shared salary comps with you all in October. So if you have any questions now about those assumptions, that list of assumptions, I'm happy to take them. But if you come up with a question, a week from now, please email or call me too. Okay. Did I leave enough? I'm never good at leaving.
Wait time?
Wait time.
Wait time's hard. I'm really bad at that too.
All right. So I'll go on to the next couple topics, and I just lost the agenda. That was just
Right. No, that's old. I have another one. Warrant approval? Do you want me to write this? Here.
That's the craziest thing.
That happens to me.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go through my conversation, and then the final thing is just the warrants approval, approving warrants 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. So the fiscal year 25 financial review, we did include that in your packet. What the comment that I'd like to make about that is revenue is something that we are always looking at and forecasting. Both Waypoint and Star, there were forecasts for the number of students that they could serve this year. Whether or not they're going to hit those numbers, get to those numbers, is really not a function of sometimes of whether or not the program directors are letting kids in. It's whether or not they're the right children to let in, whether or not we have appropriate staffing to let children in. So there's all kinds of factors that are in there. So I don't want to sort of be viewed as sort of saying we're not making our tuition our student enrollment forecast is finger pointing. It's just sort of the nature of the work that we do, but it could impact our how we end the year. And my forecast right now is that it would probably be similar to previous couple of years, and that our end of year deficit, meaning we might be several $100,000. That's similar to previous years. And how do we deal with that? We have a cumulative surplus that the collaborative has created over the years, and we would draw from that. So it's unlike a municipal school district where a end of year deficit causes an enormous amount of angst. We have ways to handle that in a rolling fashion. But fiscal year 26, we would like to create a budget that is balanced going into the budget as opposed to the way it's been created the past couple of years. And I think we have the opportunity to do that. Fiscal year, the other thing I'd like you to make sure you take a look at is the boiler procurement update. I gave you the estimate for the entire project that was provided by BLW Engineering. They're the engineering that do the specifications in drawings and will help us with the procurement of that. It's a big project. Well over $400,000 is the estimate. We'll see what the real number is when we get bids back, hopefully sometime in March. And then the goal would be to do the project through the spring, summer, and maybe into the fall. So it's a big project for us, I should say. It's one boiler and other boiler hardware. I know for many school districts, replacing a half dozen boilers in the summer is considered an average size project, but for us, it's a big project. That, as far as comments that I want to make, those are the three areas that I wanted to sort of add a little context. If there's any questions about that, I'm willing to take them. Or again, if people think about things afterwards and want to ask questions and call me up, that's fine too. But if there's no questions, approving the warrants that are listed there would be helpful.
All right. So does anyone have any questions about the warrants 26 through 30? All right. I'll take a motion to bundle warrants 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30.
So move that we bundle those.
Okay. And Gina, I have a second. Terry seconded. All right. So we're voting on bundling the warrants. Maureen says yes. Steve?
Steve, yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Devin?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Roxanne? Brad?
Yes.
Roxanne, no, she's still muted. Catherine?
Catherine, yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Tyler? Tyler is going to have to leave, right, at 7? No?
I think so. I can't.
Let's see. Bob?
Yes.
Okay, so it's been approved to bundle, so we'll vote on approval of them. Maureen says yes. Oh, sorry, let me take a motion to approve the warrants now, 27 through 30, or 26 through 30.
Motion made. Bob for Jemima.
Bob made the motion and Terry is seconding. So we'll go to the vote. Maureen says yes. Steve?
Yes.
Phil?
Bill says yes.
Okay. Devin?
Yes.
Oh, good. Terry?
Yes.
Roxanne? Brad?
Yes.
Catherine?
Catherine, yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Regina?
Yes.
Tyler? Nope. Okay. And Bob?
Yes.
All right, so the warrants have been approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Patrick. All right. Hope, do you want to bring us up to date on the information for Plymouth's addition to our board voting privileges?
Yes. So it was right up to the last minute of whether we were going to have the draft of the Articles of Agreement for you for a first read tonight. But it came in on Friday before I sent out the packet, so I shared them with you. Sarah Spatafor went through our current Articles of Agreement and made the recommended changes. We then, Steve, Jess from Monomoy, Maureen and I had met with Paula Joe and Ruth from DESI regarding the steps in the process of changing the Articles of Agreement to get Plymouth into the collaborative. And the process was that we submit our recommended thoughts and changes to DESI. They look at it and bring it back to us with their recommended changes. Then you have a first read and then a second read and then a vote, and then it goes to the school committees. So we're able to do that very quickly, which I'm super grateful to Sarah Spatafor and also to Paula Joe at DESI. She was able to get their recommendations back to me on Friday morning. And I met with her Friday afternoon on Zoom at 3:30, and she reviewed them with me. She said, we're in really good shape. Just as a reminder, we're only looking to change the Articles of Agreement to add Plymouth at this time. We were not looking to tackle more than that, given the very short window of time that we have to get this done. As we do our strategic planning and so forth, we'll likely reopen these and do this process again with a little more lead time and a little more of an opportunity for board collaboration and input. But to get Plymouth to be able to join by July 1, which is what we all want, we need to have you review these Articles of Agreement. And then unfortunately, because in our current Articles of Agreement, it says there will be a first read and a second read, we will have to schedule another very quick meeting at the end of February in order to vote. We could not vote to to skip the first read. I asked, and Paula Joe said no, unless we can't. There's no way that we could. So we'll sort of get to that in a minute. What I want to do is just quickly review the changes. As I said, the only changes we made were to add Plymouth. But what DESI said was at the same time, the last time these were opened in 2015, if there were any regulatory changes that have happened that need to be addressed in the Articles of Agreement, because we're opening the articles now, we have to address them as well. So they were very gracious and provided that input to us of what needs to get changed. Right. I'm going to just very quickly give you a synopsis of that, and then you have it in track changes on the Word doc that I shared. So the title page, they only want us to list the original date, which was March 1st, 1975, and then the most recently approved amended version. We're going to change the header so that it matches when it goes to the board and school committees. Paula Joe indicated that we have a section about adjunct membership status, but that's actually no longer an option for collaboratives. So we're going to need to delete that. Everything else was, almost everything else was really either adding Plymouth or changing the dates to this new, whenever we vote, whenever the board votes to approve and when the school committees vote to approve. The only other thing is we needed to add comments about ensuring segregation of duties and the annual evaluation of the business manager. I guess Patrick has really been slacking, and so we need to make sure it's in there's something in statute that says we have to put a blurb in about the board ensuring that the executive director evaluates the business manager. Everything else, as I said, was either about Plymouth or was about dates. So what I am hoping we can do tonight is answer any questions that you might have on the recommended changes, and then talk about a 10-minute meeting before March that we can have, where we hopefully get a quorum for you to vote on these changes. Because what has to happen next is that all of your school committees, every single one of them in March, needs to put this on the agenda for a vote. And we need at least 11, including Plymouth, of those school committees to vote to accept the changes to the Articles of Agreement prior to April 1st. We have to get those votes to DESE by April 1st. Sarah Spataford created a memo. I didn't give it to you yet because two things need to get changed. There's a wrong date on there. The memo will give you all of the information you need for your boards to give out. It's a one-page memo saying that this is what we're proposing to change. This is what it means. We will also have the updated track changes Articles of Agreement for you and a clean copy for you to give to your boards as well. I also have all of the March dates on my calendar. Some of them happen at the same time. So I'm going to go to as many of those school committee meetings as I can once they're on the agenda. I also emailed the superintendents right after we had the call with DESE to ask them to have this put on the March agendas for all of their boards. I figure I'm going to hit everybody with all the information, and hopefully it'll play out. So that's the update. Sorry, that was a lot, and I talked really fast, but things are moving quickly, and it needs to continue to move at a very rapid pace in order for us to make the deadline under statute.
Terry?
First of all, having worked with DESE on articles of agreement, articles of, you know what I mean. It's remarkable how fast they got back and they gave those bulleted explanations. We're really lucky, and that was good. And the other thing is, Hope, it's so wonderful you're going to go to these school committee meetings. It's so rare. All they know about the collaborative, well, the committee, of course, the superintendent and, our directors of special education, those things know you, but it'll be really great to see a face in Falmouth from the collaborative board. So great that you're going to some of those meetings. Thank you.
As many as I can make, I will be at. And Terry, stay tuned, because later on in the conversation about board operations, I want to highlight something about the collaborative conversations at school committee meetings. But thank you. Yeah, Paula Jo was so wonderful. It is so wonderful. And I'm new, so I don't know what I'm doing yet. And she was so lovely walking me through all of this. So I fully agree that they were fantastic to turn it around so quickly.
Yeah, we really impressed on them how involved Plymouth has been with us this year, just as an adjunct member, and how we really wanted to get this done so that they could be a full voting member next year. So it was good on all of our parts to be part of that meeting with her. Okay, so there's any other questions about the articles or what is going to be happening going forward? So we need to come up with a date now. Is that what you want to do, Hope?
I don't know how you've historically done things like this. It feels, I've used like doodle polls where people respond to their availability, but it's also, we have a quorum. So if we could get a date that, 10 minutes that worked for the people on the call, we could probably just get this done. Again, it's up to you all. I don't know the routine.
It's catches as catch can. So Do we want to aim for a date? Or do you want to do a poll? Any discussion about that?
I was going to throw out 2 weeks from today.
2/26.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's 2 different school committee meetings that night, one Mashpee and one Sandwich. So if we could we do it at 4:30? So that virtually, so that, and it would be 10 minutes, then I could go to those meetings too, and we could potentially have Kelly and Sue jump on this one.
Okay. All right. All right. So we're looking at February 26th at 4:30.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
You can ask the team, one of our norms is we start meetings on time and we end meetings on time. So we can bring that to the board of directors as well. No, it should really not take much time at all.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. That sounds like doable.
I want you to know that I will be out of the country, but I will try to be on the call.
Oh, come on. I love that. I hope you're going somewhere good.
It's a good place to get your dental work done.
That's fantastic. And I'll get a Zoom link out to you all tomorrow or the next day. But thank you. That was much easier than I expected. So thank you.
Okay.
Also, Provincetown meets the 3rd Wednesday.
I think I have it on my calendar. Gwen put it all. So I'll do my best. All right. That was it on articles of agreement, I think.
Yep.
Okay to go to board operations?
Sure.
Okay, so couple things on this. One, I just wanted to check on the structure of the agenda. There's not a lot I'm making changes on right away. I have a lot of listening to do, a lot of team work that we're sort of engaging in. And I felt like tackling the board agenda was one that I didn't want to wait on. So I just went ahead and did it and met with Maureen and got her okay. Is this okay, I guess is what I want to like, sort of a little bit less writing on it with hyperlinks. We'll still send the packets out to those of you who have asked for them to be mailed, but I guess I just wanted some input on this. If you don't have it, that's fine. Yeah.
So I should be coming to this meeting with a computer.
No, because we have packets.
I didn't see
I'm
that.
so sorry.
I was like looking at.
I'm so sorry, Catherine. Yes, we will continue to have packets here.
Wait a minute. Is everything in this?
Yes, so that's everything that's hyperlinked on the document is also in that packet, but was also in the PDF that you received.
Okay, then I did get everything. I just didn't think I got everything.
It's smaller this month. So I guess I would ask that too. You know, I'm happy to share whatever you all want. I also just don't want to overshare. And I don't mean that in like I just mean from a tree perspective. But it really is your board, it's your agenda, it's your materials. So I want to be sort of responsive to your needs. And if you want to think about it and just email me if you have thoughts, that's fine too.
I think that would be good if we had a couple of meetings. Even though it looked much shorter, it was pretty much the standard. We had a report from transportation. We had a report from Chris Bogdan about the special projects. And maybe if there were something different on the agenda, it would be good to have it written out a bit more. But I would say give us a couple of meetings to see how this pans out.
I think that's great.
Okay.
One thing we're going to add as well, and Terry, this was what I was talking about the collaborative presence at school committee meetings. I know you all know this, but I realized I just hadn't talked about it. Part of statute is that you as board members need to give a report to your school committee at least quarterly regarding the collaborative and what's going on at the collaborative. And part of the audits that we will be having our audit here next year. Part of what they're looking for is not just that it was on your agenda, but also the details of the conversation that you had quarterly. And so in order to support that and maybe provide you with a resource that will help with that requirement, we're going to start in April. You'll get a quarterly report from us that will give, it's sort of a newsletter that will give you I shouldn't say that, snippets of information about what's going on at the collaborative in all the different areas. And it'll be something you can give to your board that they can refer to and sort of review as part of that collaborative update that you do quarterly. So we're really excited about that for the April meeting. And again, it will be once a quarter that we give that to you. I hope that when we do give it to you, if there are things on it that or not on it or whatever, any feedback, we are very, very excited to hear. I'm messing with Canva. I don't know if any of you ever use Canva, but it's a pretty awesome app that allows you to create newsletters that look better than what I would try to do on, PowerPoint. So I wanted to make sure you all knew that that was something coming.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll just add that we are going to reorganize our officers at the April meeting. So I just want to get you thinking. I am not running again in my town in May, so there'll need to be a new chairperson, and I don't know how Terry feels about vice chair and so forth, but just planting the seed now. I don't know if anyone else is not running and how much the board will change after the May elections, but that will be on the April agenda. Okay, all right. Treasurer evaluation.
So also by statute, the board evaluates the treasurer annually. As I'm sort of getting my bearings here, I met with Mr. Friel and shared a template that other collaboratives are using for the treasurer evaluation. The way that I think you have done it historically is sort of collaborative, no pun intended, a group sort of review of feedback from the admin folks in conjunction with Mr. Friel. He has seen this template. Bill, you can speak for yourself and if you liked it or not, but I just wanted to see what the board thought about using this tool moving forward. And I'll stop talking and ask Bill if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I'd only say that I did thank you, Hope, for setting that along, and I communicated with her that I had reviewed it and that I have no objection at all to the approach she's taking. And certainly if the board is okay with the format, I am too. So I would welcome that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any discussion about the format? Looks great. Okay. All right. Looks like that's a go.
All right. And then finally, bringing back from last month, the discussion on the assistant transportation coordinator position. The job description has been shared with you for your vote and approval. So Anders and Lisa worked on this. I want to thank them for their time and expertise. And certainly if you have any questions, let us know.
Any questions about the job description? All right. All right. I will accept a motion to approve the assistant transportation coordinator's new job description.
So move the approval of the assistant transportation coordinator's job description.
Okay.
I'll second
Bill
it.
And Terry seconded. All right. We remember them saying that it didn't affect any salary. It was just language, so this person can be taking on more responsibility. My goodness. Okay, so Maureen says yes. Steve?
Steve, yes.
Phil?
Phil, yes.
Devin?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Roxanne?
Roxanne, yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Catherine,
Catherine, yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
and Gina.
Yes.
Tyler, I still not.
He's off the call.
Bob?
Bob, yes.
Okay, so the new job description has been approved. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up before we move to adjourn? Anything else, Hope, you have?
I did not, except to say thank you and yeah, that's it.
All right, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Gina, second.
I'll second it.
Yes.
All right. All right, Maureen approves adjournment. Steve,
Yes, thank you.
Bill,
Bill, yes.
Devin,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Roxanne.
Roxanne, yes, and good luck to you, Hope. Great meeting.
Thanks,
And-
Roxanne.
And Maureen too, yeah.
Brad,
Yes.
Catherine,
Catherine, yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
and Gina,
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes.
All right. All right, thank you all. We'll see you on the 26th at 4:30.